Hello, I'm Eric Miskell with EMS Now, and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. Today, it's my pleasure to speak for the first time to Patrick Freytag. He is the CEO of Creation Technologies. I should say the new CEO as of January of this year. So Patrick, it's a pleasure to meet you, to speak to you for the first time. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to spend time with me.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that introduction, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you. And as you said, I've been in the CEO chair here for just over 100 days, and really thrilled and privileged to be leading Creation Technologies for our employees and for our customers.
Yeah, and I mean, you had succeeded Stephen DeFalco, who moved on to become executive chairman. So I had the pleasure of speaking to Stephen on this show before, so I'm glad to be able to continue with you. And you weren't new, though. You didn't join from outside. So give a little background to yourself before we get into the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined Creation Technologies in 2019 as the Chief Financial Officer. And at that point, as you pointed out, Stephen DeFalco was our CEO. And Stephen and I have been working together for a number of years in a prior company, and just have known each other for even longer. And so had kind of a strong relationship there as we came in and took the helm of Creation in 2019 after it was acquired by Lindsay Goldberg, which is our private equity sponsor. And we came in really with the mission of leveraging what was a world-class name, a world-class customer franchise, phenomenal people, but with a mandate to grow, to change a few things in terms of our go-to-market strategy, to find some commonality in our operations and processes, and really focus our overall mission with customers into three key end markets where we operate: into aerospace and defense, medtech, and tech-enabled industrial. So it's been a very interesting 5.5 years since that August of 2019, but certainly one that I've enjoyed immensely. And as I said, just thrilled now to kind of start that next chapter as the CEO.
Yeah, good timing there when you joined just before COVID, right?
I joked with my senior team, I need to work on the timing of my new assignments, because I started 6 months before COVID. And then when I took on the CEO role, it was about 24 hours before a variety of different tariff announcements began. So I need to work on that timing. But yeah, nonetheless, I think right into the frying pan is how I prefer it sometimes. And it certainly gave us a tremendous amount of opportunity to gel as a senior team and really to kind of move forward quickly.
Yeah. Listen, for the benefit of the audience, let's allow you to give kind of an overview of Creation Tech as it exists today, in the sense of footprint, anything you care to share about the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So Creation Technologies is a scaled specialty provider in the EMS space. And I stress that insofar as we focus on high reliability products in the low to mid volume for our customers in the aerospace and defense, medical technology, and tech-enabled industrial industries. We focus exclusively in those three end markets in that size of project, which is a differentiator for us. We're not interested, nor are we trying to compete with consumer electronics CMs or with automotive CMs. We've really found this space to be attractive for us. It allows us really to convert our value proposition with customers in an attractive way. It really allows us to have an intimate customer model that our customers find very attractive, and gives them the attention that they need to solve the complex problems in manufacturing that they're facing. And so that's our focus area. We operate across 13 different locations in 4 countries, in China, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. 12 of those 13 are in North America, with the one sitting in China. And we support just over 3,000 employees in that endeavor and 125 customers in the end markets that I mentioned.
Okay, let's unpack a little bit of that here. There's quite a bit.
There's a lot there, yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a lot there. And I like the focus, so the tech industrial, the medical, the aero defense, as you're saying, and those really high reliability areas, because from a size-wise, you guys are one of the larger EMS. You're ranked in the top 50, I think 31, whatever it was last year in the MMI list. So you're not a small regional one. You're very much a large player, and really a sweet spot in the industry, I've always found, which is that sizing wherever it is today, or around a billion roughly.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and so I think that gives you a unique position, and it attracts unique business to you as well.
It does. And I think that, where we found success is that we're not really competing against the large $10 billion public companies. That's not our space.
Right.
But where we can offer value and significant value is that we've got end-to-end capabilities that start with sustaining and value engineering, start with prototyping and NPI, test development services, and then extend to that regional and global manufacturing footprint you manage or that you mentioned, and is complemented by global supply chain capabilities. And so, unlike a single site or a dual site small player, we have this global reach that's complemented with that customer intimacy that
Mhm.
makes us a differentiated player. And as you said, it just is the end market's very attractive to us. We find that those relationships are quite sticky, but our value proposition and what we can offer to our customers is very different than a smaller scale provider that maybe operates out of a single site or two sites, if you will.
Exactly right. And I one thing I've known of Creation Tag. I started in the industry, I think, in '98, and it was,
Okay.
I think y'all started around 1991, was if I
Hmm.
remember
Correct.
correctly. So I've
Yep.
been around, and I remember seeing kind of a mapping of customers around locations from a long time ago there, and it just
Hmm.
struck me the clusters of where wherever your facilities were, there was a large cluster of your OEM customers in that area. So it is that kind of, you had the large footprint, but you had this nice clustering of customers serving the regional area. So it almost is kind of region for region, even within North America.
It has been, and I think that as you pointed out, we were founded in 1991 in British Columbia, and then the company expanded into Eastern Canada not long thereafter, and then progressively went south through the United States, Mexico, and China via acquisition. And what we've been able to do is really leverage that original small footprint, as you said, into, yes, region for region, but as you grow with the customer, that customer's needs begin to change, and they may be looking to put products that are stable into a low-cost manufacturing environment. Being able to complement our sites in the United States and Canada with the site that we have in Mexico and the site in China with that option, again, it's just a differentiator that allows us to strengthen those relationships with customers.
Yeah, right. And the other thing that I remember from Creation back then, I think it's continued under your stewardship, is the continual profitable growth that the company has been experiencing, which really speaks to the financial discipline and knowing how to operate in this space.
It is, and I think if you look at the 34 years of history across the company, and starting with a founder family, and then working through a couple iterations of private equity to where we are now, it has been a kind of very consistent growth cycle for us, and we've complemented that in the last 6 years, both organically as well with 3 strategic acquisitions that have added capabilities, have further penetrated our exposure to certain markets that we like, and really kind of continued along a theme that started with our founder, but really has kind of gained momentum, if you will, in the last 5 years.
Yeah. And I think something that reflects well on your strength is you've continued to make investments during that COVID period. I was looking at some of the
Yeah.
acquisitions, and I mean, some of the acquisitions of ATS and IEC were right there, weren't they, in 2021, right
They
after?
were, yeah. I mean, ICE or ATS was May of 2020. It was, doing a lot of negotiating with that group and with that founder over Zoom, and then kind of immediately out of the gate benefiting from a program to support ventilators that allowed us to really quickly integrate teams and really kind of move forward with that acquisition. And as you pointed out, we did the IEC acquisition as well as the CompuTrol acquisition in the fall of 2021. But those acquisitions and the time, put the timing aside and what was going on in the background, it really complemented the strategy that we had set beginning in 2019 to focus on these 3 end markets, to further penetrate, and really not to go outside of that knitting. And we found that strategic kind of bell, if you will, in those 3 acquisitions, whether it was increased exposure on the A&D side, increased capabilities, or increased exposure on the medtech side. So all 3 kind of check the box, if you will, from that strategic perspective. And we benefited mightily, Eric, from having a very supportive partner in Lindsay Goldberg, and their ability to support the mission and the build here and the strategy over the past 6 years under their ownership has been phenomenal and constant. And they were a big part, obviously, of being able to complete those 3 acquisitions and remain supportive of creation as we move forward and any additional acquisitions that may be on the horizon.
Yeah. Um, it strikes me the EMS industry has always been plagued by having too many companies in it, right? Which was always,
Yeah. Yep.
but so it makes me think, so there are many EMS with similar equipment, similar capabilities, serving similar clients, right? And you're
Yep.
aware of this. So what is your unique, what makes Creation Tech special then?
I think a lot about it, as I said, I mentioned intimacy of the customer relationship, and we
Yeah.
use a term of these customer focused teams, which is really the construct of our program management on a daily basis with the customer, and that interaction that takes place daily that begins with demand management and order intake, and then extends with supply chain, extends with engineering capabilities, and then ultimately with the assembly work that we do for our customers. I don't see that in every company that we look to. And I think that level of engagement and the enthusiasm from our team in terms of delivering an innovative supply chain solution to our customer is candidly unmatched by a number of our competitors. And I'll give you an example quite relevant. If you think about the tariff circumstance and situation that we're in and the ever evolving landscape there, I've seen many of our competitors post a press release and say, okay, this is happening and it's going to impact your cost. We've been very proactive in these moments to get in front of our customers via webinar, to be as informative to them with data and with alternatives in an effort to solve this challenge that's now in front of them. And being that proactive kind of supply chain leader for them, which is obviously filling a void. It's something that they don't do. They're product companies. That's not where their expertise is in managing the supply chain. That's why they've hired us. We're filling that for them. And we're doing it in a way that's providing thought leadership and alternatives and strategies for them that otherwise they won't be getting.
And that really speaks to the corporate culture topic, right? And kind of how do
Yes.
you, and a lot in the customer focus as you talk, and I did note that you've been winner of the Service Excellence Awards dating back to 2015, which is really,
Mhm.
which I love that program because it really is the customers voting for it, not some panel of experts.
100%. Yeah, we love it too because of that, for sure. And again, very proud of it because it's coming from their feedback. And I think that for us, like as we think about those awards, and we celebrate them certainly, but we're also tracking internally our own customer satisfaction. Like we have KPIs on just about everything, whether operationally or from a business development or customer sat perspective. And we do that to find new ways to strengthen our relationship and understand the needs of the customer, quite simply, and then be responsive to them.
Yeah. No, and that's it, right? And as you indicated, a lot of people, everybody talks about being customer first. It's
Yeah.
standard marketing, I think. But to actually realize that and to actually be consistent with that is the challenge. And it sounds like Creation Tech seemingly has the secret sauce for that.
I think so. And I think, look, we've benefited, it'd be remiss not to say that we haven't benefited from an ever evolving market landscape in EMS. If you think about the evolution of OEMs over the past 4 years, whether because of the impact from COVID or the impact of semiconductor shortages in 2022 and 2023, as OEMs came out of those situations, there was a complete re-examination of their supply chain, particularly of contract manufacturers. And I think the realization that the number of contract manufacturers may have exceeded the actual products that a company had was that there's an opportunity to consolidate. But where do you consolidate? You consolidate with your partner that's been delivering for you, that has stability in their people, stability in their service offering and in the quality of the service offering, and candidly, financial stability coming out of 2022 and 23. And I'm proud to say that Creation can check all those boxes, and it's positioned us very well with our customers as they've looked at making decisions to consolidate the overall kind of management of their vendors and the management of their EMS providers.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's well stated because I think we saw some failures through that. I think we may continue to see some. I'm going to Europe here in a bit, and you see, EMS failing there,
Hmm.
business, and they sometimes it's betting too much on a particular sector and losing out. Sometimes and then
Yeah,
the inventory challenge certainly challenged a lot of people, and their inability to make necessary investments became a problem. Speaking to the financial strength that you
yeah.
just mentioned, so I think all of those things have make it a very challenging industry. That is, I like to think it's getting better and better because it's having to manage this series of disruptions as we go
I,
back.
I agree with you. I think that there was an evolution in 20 to 21. I think the supply chain dynamics of the previous decade were somewhat taken for granted insofar as you had this phenomenon of, I'll call it the Amazon Prime phenomenon, that if you needed anything, you could hit a button and your lead times were 2, 4, 6 weeks, and it was there. And you had the ability to manage demand changes easily and shortages and rapid uptake or declines in demand from your customer very easily. That all began to change in 21 and 22 dramatically. And I think it forced us to rethink our processes on a supply chain perspective, but as important, our personnel and our talent and our leadership and how we could position supply chain as a real competitive weapon. Whereas previously, I think it was shockingly a sleepy function in
Yeah,
some of these companies. Now it's at the forefront of our value add.
yeah, absolutely. It has to be these days. You're right.
Yeah, certainly.
So tell me, before I ask you about larger kind of industry issues before we
Yeah.
close, let me just ask you about you, Patrick. So as the CEO of Creation Tech now, how would you describe your leadership style? What type of leader do you try to be there in that organization?
It's a great question, and it's easy to lead when I've got the team that I've got around me. And the reason that it's easy is that I've got a phenomenal group in my executive team and extending down through functional and regional leadership and to our general managers. And my belief is I benefit from empowerment of those individuals. And so I'm a fairly good listener. I try to be quite developmental with my people, but most importantly, I try to empower them to go and solve problems on their own, to give them some guidance and lead them if needed, but really give them the tools they need to go be successful through that empowerment. And that, again, not coming in from the outside, I'm benefiting from having been here for the last 5.5 years with, my colleagues on the senior team that we've managed through quite a number of things. And we've successfully doubled the size of the company, but we did that because we really formed a strong bond, and that bond continues now in this role. And so it's very much about listening and in developing and empowering the team. Because again, I feel like I'm surrounded by one of the best, if not the best, management teams in the industry, and that's a blessing in any role, but certainly in this role.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I was speaking to somebody earlier this year, one of the leadership development gurus for the industry, and talking about how it's not the great man, theory of
No,
leadership
there's
in this
no,
industry.
yeah,
All
no,
industries
no,
seem
no
to
perfect, no perfect leaders, but close to perfect teams, and
right.
that's
Exactly.
exactly, I kind of put that under my pillow every night for sure, because it's,
Right.
being complemented by industry experts, domain expertise is invaluable. And then having the wherewithal to rely on them and listen to them even
Mhm.
more. And again, that familiarity of what we've gone through over the last 6 years, just have implicit trust with this team and think they're phenomenal.
Yeah. I did want to touch on you. You mentioned the tariffs earlier, and just kind of get your assessment of the current state of the EMS industry and the challenges that it faces. And tariffs just being the most recent one, but and
Sure.
materials, component availability has been one. Then we go swing to material overhang. I don't know the
Yeah.
impact it's had on you, but man, how do you see the current state of the industry, and what are the main challenges you're facing?
I think the industry goes through certain moments of equilibrium from a supply demand perspective, and I think those moments last somewhere in the neighborhood of about 37 seconds, and then it shifts to a supply shortage or a demand shortage. I think where we are today is some level of equilibrium from supply and demand. that we've kind of returned to normal. And so I think that there's a level of normalcy that we're experiencing there, certainly in our markets, and particularly in the North American market, where we're very strong. The tariff piece has been disruptive. It hasn't changed fundamentally business as of today, but the only reason that it hasn't is because it's been so disruptive. And what I mean by that is the 24-hour volatility of announcements, of not really understanding the outcome of any of these conversations, is really forcing OEMs to sit for a moment and figure out, okay, what do I need to do? What are my options? And how am I going to navigate these what if analyses that I need to go and do? That's where I think our industry is playing a major role. I certainly see our team playing a major role in empowering those what if analyses with our OEMs and giving guidance on how to navigate the environment as it is today. And that may all change in 24 hours, but certainly being proactive the best we can. And then when things change, being reactive and understand, okay, if I move this in the analysis, what it means for you, certainly is helpful. If you take a step back, though, thematically, I think it has potential far-reaching implications on how OEMs view North America and what they want to keep in North America versus where they think they have to move things out of North America into Asia or into Europe, because they feel there could be reciprocal damage from European countries or Asian countries if it becomes difficult to manage within the United States. And so I think that all those are on the table, if you will, but I don't think there's a definite answer to any of the questions because it can change so quickly. And so it's a good time to have the footprint that we do globally. It's a great time to have the level of sophistication and talent we do in supply chain that allows us to be nimble in supply analysis and solutions to our customers. But for the most part, it's not changing the day-to-day. It's not changing the fundamentals of our financials or our sales yet, because no one's making a decision yet.
Mm-hmm. So then, looking forward from where we are today, we're second quarter 2025 here. How do you view the end of the year for the industry and even into 2026? Everybody's putting forth their guesses. So how do you think?
Yeah, and I think that I think that there's a very real threat of a challenge to the U.S. economy, but being able to size that is impossible because I don't know, how we get through, call it July, in terms of where we go with tariffs. But I think that's giving pause to a lot of OEMs at the moment in terms of big plans. I'll be candid with you, Eric. It hasn't changed materially our demand outlook yet. And so I think you're in a period of almost fragile stability through the end of the year based on what can happen in the next 6 to 10 weeks with different announcements that could teeter the economy one way or the other.
Yeah. And that's what, I think about the industry sectors you're in there again. Those are longer term ones, right? This isn't
These are, yeah. If you think about our sales cycle, I mean, if you think about DoD programs or medtech programs, these things don't pick up and move very frequently. We've certainly benefited from a flight to quality over the last 24 months, and so we're growing tremendously in both segments. But in the United States, certainly if you've got an FDA stamp on a program or you're qualified because your DoD customer has qualified all the way through, it's difficult to move that quickly. So certainly the stability in those markets, I feel very good about, and we've got good, strong visibility through the end of the year and into next year. Our industrial segment, very resilient. It's broad insofar as we do a lot on the warehouse automation side. We do a lot in industrial controls. Quite resilient there, and a lot of interest from our customers into North America, into Mexico, into Canada, and equal into our facility in China. And so it's, as I said, I think that if the economy teeters towards slowdown, it'll certainly impact those industrial customers more. However, we're not seeing that yet. Yeah.
Well, I hope that trend continues.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I think it's we're in a unique situation, certainly. And I
Yeah,
think that given our diversity, though, I feel very confident about the business just because we're so well balanced across those three segments.
yeah. Now, listen, I think Creation Tech, like I said earlier, I've known about you for a long time. It's been a well-respected player in this industry. It's been fun to see it grow and become larger. And I do think you're in a unique, enviable position in this industry. So congratulations on being in charge and steering it into this next chapter with the team, of course, right? So,
Yeah.
but I want to thank you for your time and sharing with us today, and hopefully we can speak again in the future.
Eric, it was really my pleasure. I love, as you may be able to tell, I love talking about our business. I'm very optimistic about it. Certainly as a result of our customer base as well as our people, and so it just is a thrill anytime I can talk to anybody and bend their ear about creation technologies. So it was a
Yeah,
privilege for me to spend some time with you, and I'd love to have you at one of our sites. And the next time we do this, we can do it out on the shop floor
that'd
and
be
give you a tour.
fantastic.
So,
We have to
okay,
make that happen.
that
Patrick,
that
I
would be
appreciate
wonderful.
it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.